apologise to everyone, please.
I apologise to all the listeners that my mic was awful at the beginning, and I apologise to Paul for making his life harder.
Adam, you're a naughty boy. Carry on.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusтерspod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters. So how was it last week then, guys, when I wasn't here? I haven't listened to your Down Terraced episode yet because I want to watch
I know
the
you haven't,
film
because it's not called
before
Down Terraced.
Was it called then?
Singular.
Terrace.
Okay, Down Terraced then.
Singular
sorry.
terrace.
One terrace.
Well, I haven't listened to it because I want to go in because I've heard from Ben when I saw him the other week. Was it last Monday now? We went to see Mickey. Was it this
17.
Monday? I don't know. What it
Last
was.
Monday.
Everything's a blur. He said that you have very contradicting opinions on it. So, I don't want to be swayed one way or the other before I go in.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to experience it yourself, mate.
You got to experience it.
Yeah, it's a Sean threw it to us, and I'm glad I watched it because I think he's an interesting director. I'm not saying for what reasons, but it was certainly a unique experience, I'd say.
Okay, that's what I hope so. Even if it's not good, it's memorable.
That might be the theme for 2009.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
we're going somewhere already. Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Well, why is it? Why is it going to be a unique experience today, Ben? What are we talking about?
Well, today we're talking about Into the Void, which is, for those who know, and for those who don't, you'll find out because you've either experienced it or you haven't.
Definitely
Yes.
feels like one you should experience before you listen.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. Oh, 100%. And also, if you've ever seen it, you will remember the film.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Adam's been forced to watch it twice in 12 months, I think.
No, it's a bit longer than that. I watched it when I watched it probably just over 3 years ago.
He's been forced to watch it and just...
I was. You know, the funny thing is, I was around with the guys the other day and we were like, oh, should we put on Into the Void again? And then the next, I think, 2 days later, I saw Ben and he was like, guess what we're doing on the podcast?
Oh, what,
So-
you had watched it 2 days before
synced
that?
up.
No, we were going to, and then we watched Gladiator 2 instead.
Yeah, I saw on Letterboxd that you rewatched Gladiator 2. Let me tell you something, mate. That film is not worthy of a rewatch within like 1 month of having seen it.
Well,
Like,
everyone else
maybe several years later.
Everyone I was with hadn't seen it, and they were like, should we watch it? I was like, you know what, I had fun, I'd watch it again.
Yeah, you gave it an 8, mate. So.
I think it's a fun film. I love Denzel and it's fantastic.
You like it the most out of us, I think.
I like it the least.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
like it the least. It was not really. It was not really the one. Have we
It
spoken
wasn't as
about
good
this?
it wasn't as good on a rewatch, I'll tell you that. But
I don't think it was as good the first time round.
I still had fun with it. It's just fucking
That's
ridiculous.
okay. That's all right.
Me and Adam have spoken about it, but you never had a chance because I think you had better films in a month, so you never spoke about it.
All right. What did you speak about it at the end of month then?
Yeah, I spoke about it.
I
at the
did.
end of the
Before
year,
I'd seen
I
it.
think.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. I remember the point that you said in that end of year wrap up was that the shark bit, sharks at the Colosseum, is such a great concept, but then when it happens, it's like so totally nothing and forgettable. And as I was experiencing, I was like, yes, absolutely. This is a complete letdown.
It is exactly like why you shouldn't watch trailers. It would have been more exciting if that just happened for a fleeting moment, like, wow, that's a cool
See,
idea.
I don't think I
Yeah.
really saw the trailer. And then when we watched the film, you just left it on the Amazon Prime, and then it played the trailer, and it shows like the fucking best bit of it, like the rhino bit. You see that happen almost in full, and you're like, "Fuck this."
Can't even remember the rhino bit.
When he has to fight the rhino in the Colosseum and it runs into the wall.
Oh yeah,
Throws all the dust up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
blinds it.
Yeah, exactly.
Rhinos.
Well, what a unique experience it would be to be watching a rhino fighting a man. And, just like unique experiences, like this episode. We're also going to talk about unique experiences on the Patreon, aren't we?
Yes.
We are, yes.
The topic for today is, it doesn't even have to be top 3, to be honest, because it's not about
Just
ranking
chatting.
them. It's about, films that challenge the way you typically view films. As in
Exactly.
a different kind of cinematic experience, not story-wise.
I mean, I think to make this work, we're going to have to leave it very open to interpretation.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see.
That's
We'll
the
see.
beauty of it. That's the
If
beauty.
you close that down, then I'm going to run out of films very quickly.
Well,
Because we'll all end up with the same films.
I don't think so.
We shall see. But that's what we got. If you're interested in that, you can go listen to that. www.patreon.com/filmbusters. Well, should we move on to speaking about a unique experience and
Into the Void.
do the staple of every episode and speak about the quiz, which is about Into the Void. Enter
Yes.
the Void. Sorry, not Into,
Into
the
the
Void.
Void. We'll go into the void shortly, but before we enter it, we'll do the quiz, which is for those who don't know, who haven't listened to this podcast before and are coming because you're Gaspar No freaks or like experimental cinema and this is your first episode, welcome. We're going to do the quiz. And I asked the boys 2 questions about the film that we've watched that we're about to talk about, and we'll see if they get the questions right. If they get the questions right, they'll get a point each for questions they answer correctly. If they get it wrong, I'll get the point. The scores currently are, I don't know.
Me and you are on 4.
Okay.
Adam's on 3.
Oh, so it's very tight. So anyone could be in the lead after this, and I don't know. I mean, someone's going to get it. So let's go. Are you ready for question 1, boys?
Let's do it.
What is the name of the drug Oscar smokes on the day of his death?
DMT.
Very good, Paul. Paul is in the lead. 5-4-3 to Paul. DMT. It is real drug.
Have any of you done it before?
Certainly not.
I've got a friend who's done it, and they say, it's pretty mental.
Wow.
It only lasts for apparently 5 minutes max, and you go into a void, and there's all these little what are they called? Apparently, everyone sees the same thing. All these goblins,
The fuck?
these DMT goblins kind of thing, and they float around, and you accelerate away. It's really weird. It is like going through some of the eyeball scenes in this film.
In what environment did this friend take DMT? Out of
Sit in a
festival?
room.
Oh,
It was on a
safe.
vape.
I think you'd want to be safe, yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to be shot in your chest.
No. And then it comes back and you're normal, and then you do it again.
Jesus.
Well, okay. So we'll cover more of the experiences that you're aware of your friend as we go through this episode, no doubt. But let's have a second question first. So you'll both get a chance to answer this. If you are right within a certain parameter, you'll get the point. But if you're not, I'll get the point. So I'm looking for a timestamp in the film.
Oh.
If you get it within 3 minutes,
Okay.
I'll allow it. If you don't, but one of you will be nearer, and that person will get the point. But if neither of you gets it within 3 minutes, I'll get the point. Okay. What is the timestamp for Oscar's death? The moment the bullet penetrates his chest. I'm looking for the
26
exact
minutes.
Listen to me. I'm looking for the exact
Okay.
timestamp of minutes and seconds, and you have to get it within 3 minutes to beat me, and then you have to get it better than the other person. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say 26. It's like dead on 26 minutes.
Dead on 26
I'm
minutes.
going over now. I did think earlier, but then the credits go on for ages. I'm going to go 32, 31.
All right, Adam, you are way off. It is nowhere near that. And Paul, you are almost correct. You're within 3
shit.
minutes. So you've taken the points and you've run.
Oh, shit!
Yeah.
Yes!
It's the actual timestamp is 24 minutes and 48 seconds. So you've done very
so
well
close.
there. You got very, very close. So, Paul, you've taken all the spoils today.
Oh, storming, mate. Look
What's
at
that mean? What does that mean for the scores?
That means I have 6 points. Ben, you're on 4 points, and Adam, you're on 3 points.
Wow, look at this.
I'm taking it, mate.
Very
Taking
good.
it away.
Well done. Well done.
Wicked. Should we talk about this film?
Yes.
Do you remember that pact we made?
Kind of.
We promised to never leave each other.
Never ever.
Never ever. And if you die, I'll come back.
Do you know that tomorrow's the anniversary of Mom and Dad's death?
Tibetan Book of the Dead? I'm assuming it's about death.
It tells you how your spirit comes out from your body after you die. At first, you can see all your life reflected in a magic mirror, and then you see these lights, all these different lights, of all different colors.
Alex is gonna make you a junkie.
I know I'm not a junkie. Come on.
It's not your friend. We're gonna be like family from now on. Just you and me.
Okay, everyone, today we are doing Enter the Void from 2009, directed by Gaspar Noé. This is a spoiler episode. We're going to talk everything about this film. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to go watch it first because it's a very unique experience, as we said. So you want to know exactly what we're talking about.
It's fun for all the family.
You want a Gaspar No?
All the family, yeah. Yeah, Gaspar No. Is it no or Noé?
For the purpose of that joke, it's no.
Okay.
I think it is Gaspar now, isn't it?
I think it is Gaspar. Well, I don't know. I think it's Noé.
It's a soft
know.
OE.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, as The Rock would say.
Yeah.
Well, what is pretty good is you wouldn't expect it. There's someone who's been in a film we've done before. I don't think you're ever going to get it, so I might as well just tell you, unless you want to try and take a stab at it.
It's not going to be our man from Years and Years.
I only found that out afterwards. I was like, holy shit, that's him? Fuck me.
I know. But we found it out at the end of last week's episode when I looked ahead at the cast list. I was stunned. I had no memory of him being in it.
It's a child actor, and it is the little girl who plays young Linda. The
Right.
actress's name is Emily Allen Lind,
Right.
and she was in Doctor Sleep, and she played Snakebite Andy. She's the one who can control people with whatever word she says. Remember her?
No. But I guess she was
Well, there you
a grown-up in it.
Yes, she was, I'd imagine late teens, early 20s in that film. So, yeah, she made her way from a little girl into Doctor Sleep. So there you go.
Wow. I mean, I'm just looking on her thingy now, and she was also Paul in that abomination of a Ghostbusters film recently. She was the ghost girl who...
Yes!
The girl
Yes, she
Ghostbuster
was.
fancies.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
One of my least favourite plot devices in that film. Which
Yeah,
was
very
awful,
bad. That was
very awful.
What rubbish. Yeah.
Oh, well, look at that. And she was American.
There you go.
Okay. Interesting. That's
Adam.
actually quite interesting.
Yeah. Adam, you want to do a little plot rundown of this film?
Yeah. So this is about a guy who is living in Tokyo with his sister, and they're getting to get themselves into all kinds of trouble. Like, they're not. He's a drug dealer and she's a prostitute / stripper, I'd say. And he gets killed by the feds in a drug bust gone wrong in a nightclub, and then you kind of see his soul floating around Tokyo and looking at life events, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Is it his soul, or what would you say it is?
Well, we can talk about what that is. I don't have any backstory stuff.
No.
We can just talk about some bits as we go along. It's a difficult film to do that for.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
But maybe I will just frame this episode as I knew beforehand that Paul hadn't seen it. I said it at the end of the last episode anyway, that Paul hadn't seen it, Adam had seen it, and I had seen it, and that I knew where Adam sort of stood on it and where I did. So I kind of was like, I know how this episode is going to go. That's what I said at the end of the last episode. Let's see if I'm proved correct or not today. I'll tell you at the end if it goes the way that I think it will go.
Okay, interesting. Well, it's your film, so you get to choose what first impressions, in what order you want.
I'll tell you, I'll go first. I will leave you till last, Paul, because you're the one who I definitely don't know anything of. So, Adam, you're going in the middle. Let me have a think here. All right, so I watched this film in 2010, first time round. I was watching it with my friend at the time, who I was living with, and we were in the process of writing a story and making a film, and we were watching films that were pushing the boundaries of typical cinema because we thought that's what we were doing in a very poncy way. And I remember watching it together, smoking cigarettes, watching it and thinking, yeah, this is really cool, but it's also an ordeal. It feels like a bit of an ordeal, but by the end of it, I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience because it was so unique and so distinct. But as time had passed, the more time that passed, the more I thought, by the time I go back to it, I will really like it. I will really like it. So it's been like 15 years. And I thought, based on the experience that I had the first time round and what a visceral, visual, insane experience it is as a film anyway, I thought the best thing to do is to experience this slightly under the influence, not anything like DMT or anything close to that. But I had an edible, so I thought I'm just going to have an edible. And the minute I feel it ever so slightly going to kick in, I'm going to hit play and I'm going to rewatch this thing again. And the edible really kicked in quickly, like 40 minutes. And I was like, fuck, well, this has come on soon. So shit, I still had to do some bits around the house. So I was rushing it and I had to get the film lined up and I hit play. And from the opening credits, which are like one of my highlights of the film, I fucking love those opening credits.
I'd say as well, yeah.
Through to that last shot, it's for me the best experience I've ever had watching a film under the influence. Hands down, of all the films I've watched, that was the best. And that was my superior experience, was this most recent one with the edible, because I feel like it is a film which is about the ultimate trip, which is death. It is essentially about death, and it's shown through the means of this psycho mental fucking trip. It's the closest experience you can have if you've never taken drugs before to going on a trip. And to be in a very mild one while that was happening was a hell of an experience. And I'll talk more to it as we go along, but I highly recommend it to anyone who dabbles and for those who don't, so they can get an experience for what it may be like.
Great stuff.
So I watched this film 3 years ago. And I remember parts, but I don't remember it all. I just kind of remember the flying around the city, which, looking back, is about the last hour of the film. It starts off so insane, and it just starts off like you're just so deep into this film. So I don't always, let's say, vibe of Gaspar films. I'd like Irreversible is good. I don't really like Climax. I don't really like the Love. Is it Love 3D or whatever it was called?
Yeah.
I think they're just a little bit too not out there, but there's just not enough in them. It just kind of sees. But I think this is kind of that balance between being insane, but also such a way it's so mundane, but at the same time it's so over the top. And so for large parts of this film, you're like, what is going on here? But it's so captivating at the same time. You can't almost take your eyes off it because you're like, what is going to come next? And yeah, there was parts of this film in the middle. I'm like, why am I still watching this film? Like, and at the end,
we got to do a podcast on it.
I know, but it never seems to end at the end. But at the same time, you're not like, oh, for fuck's sake, this film's going on. But you're like, oh, okay, this is happening now. It just seems like you're like, oh, it's going to end. Oh no, it's not. There's another 40 minutes left of this film. There's some parts of it that I think are absolutely incredible filmmaking. There is large parts of these films, these sequences that happen, you're like, holy shit. Like, to imagine to be able to pull these off and do them so well and so captivating that they'd almost be so good as just short films. It could almost be like a chapter anthology film. I kind of stand where I was before. I quite enjoy it, but I do think it doesn't need to be 2 hours 40 long.
Well,
fair.
But at the same time, you need to be in that experience for so long that it almost kind of takes over you and takes over your body and the mood you're in. Like, the longer it is, the deeper you fall.
Yeah, I would just say if it was like half the length, it wouldn't have the effect because you'd be out of it too quick. It does need to...
I think it needs to be about 2 hours.
It needs
long.
to swallow you up in the way that it does, I think.
But I don't think it needs to be 2 hours 40 long. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I'll probably need to explain myself better as we go through the podcast.
You explained it very well.
Okay. So this film has far more story in it than I was actually expecting. like considering your option of wanting to experience the film high, I expected more of like the first 10 minutes of the film, those like pondering kaleidoscopic shots that go nowhere. But like for the most part, minus the floating through the city, we're actually just experiencing an unlinear narrative, really, and like a picture that we're slowly getting all the puzzle pieces for to give us a better understanding of, or a sense of how to get where we were to that bathroom stall where he gets shot. But that isn't to say that like the story is very interesting for me, or like that when we get to the end we feel satisfied that fucking Oscar can finally suck his own sister's nipples. But it's interesting in like the Freudian narrative of it all, I guess. But between like the not so great acting and huge runtime, I just end up wanting it to pick up the pace a little. I think I would have definitely benefited from watching the international version. Just 20 minutes shorter. Just 20 minutes shorter would have done it justice, I think. But you know, I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary stuff in it. Like seeing
that's what I mean about like it just ponders on a bit too much.
Like seeing his mate Alex all the time after the incident, other than needing him to be the father of his new baby body, it was just boring seeing him. It's like what he was getting up to, I don't care. And there was just too much Gaspar Noé eye-rolling sex as expected. Other than seeing his sister in these situations, and probably his mother too. Other than those two, it all feels completely unnecessary. But I mean, even still with the sister, we randomly get the sister having a threesome at some point, and it's like doesn't explain why or why it's there, but it's just there. It's just for the sake of it, and it's just not needed in my opinion. But overall, I like the idea. I like some of the execution, but it mostly just ran on for way too long. His worst film is still Love, which is just a whole film
for
of
all
sex.
the reasons you said.
Yeah,
No, I
for the
thought it
sake
was
of
the
it.
climax that you disliked the most.
No, Love. I
There's a
literally
bit more going on in climax.
Yeah.
Not a lot more, but there's a slightly little bit more.
Yeah, it's just sex for the sake of it with no story. His best is still Irreversible for me, and this sits in the middle above climax. That's my first impression.
I kind of agree with you on that, Paul. Maybe on different ratings of the films, but I think the order I'd put them in.
Yeah. There we go. Let's talk about it.
All right, to address the thing that you said there, Paul, about the acting, I understand what you mean totally, of course, but they're all, apart from Paz de la Huerta, his sister, they're all non-actors. So the guy who plays Oscar was just a director that Gaspar Noé knew and was like, I need someone to be in the film who doesn't have a character or presence of their own. He was like, when he was making the film, he was thinking, nobody who's an aspiring actor is going to want to be this character because they're never really seen, and we just follow them around from behind. So he went with this guy who was an aspiring director so that he could get the experience of being on the film set. And then his friend, Alex, is it? Yeah, he was the director's friend in real life who was a Gaspar Noé fan and just wanted to come along and meet Gaspar Noé on that day when they were doing the casting. And then he was like, okay, you're going to be his friend, so just play yourself. So they're just playing themselves. They were both non-actors. And Gaspar Noé even said that Paz de la Huerta wasn't, at the time when he cast her, she hadn't done anything really, so she was an unknown, and that's what he wanted the whole film to be. But by the time this had come out, Paz de la Huerta had done a couple of films, and she was more of a polished actress. So it seemed like she was like the stunt casting for the film, but that wasn't meant to be the case in that first instance. But
I also saw that he said Gaspar Noé doesn't speak very good English, so he didn't write the script, and he just said to people,
just ad-lib.
Ad-lib it,
yeah,
which I think shows sometimes in some of the conversations being had.
It does show, but I'll tell you, there are things in there that are like, you couldn't script it. Okay, so maybe it may have been how I was feeling at the time, but certainly there were points where I'm like, my God, this is incredibly apt. This is really reflecting how I'm feeling. So early on when he's on the trip and he walks out with Alex, and they are walking along they're in like a block outside, and they're walking along not the balcony, I don't know what you call it, like outside blocks when you're in flats.
The fire escape almost.
He looks over. Yeah, not that bit when they're down the fire escape. It's when they go to see that other drug guy and they're walking along like the outside bit. I don't even know what the fucking word for it is. Like a long balcony where there's loads of flats. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he
get him a lot in
He
London.
says, "I'm not going to jump from here, am I?" That's what he's thinking inside his head, and it's like that is exactly what I was thinking before
Don't jump.
he said that, because it's like a paranoia, and for him to just ad lib that is very apt, because that's really capturing the essence of how you might feel in a situation like that. And that bit where he's dying, the words he's saying, like, is this really happening? Am I dying? I can't be dying. This isn't real, is it? Feels that has to be scripted. It has to be scripted. I can't believe that it was all ad-libbed. There must have been moments of it, but it does feel like Gaspar Noé didn't speak a fucking word of English, because I think if he did, he would have coached some of them to like just say things in a bit more of a natural way, because it did feel, even if they were ad-libbing it, it did feel like they were reading lines at times.
But some parts of it felt very natural in the way people would speak, but then also but that makes it very weird in a film environment and the environment that they're in. That makes sense.
To an extent. I think the guy, it's Alex, right? Alex is the main one who does most of the talking when he's talking to him while he's going through his trip and talking about the Tibetan Book of the Dead and talking to him about the various experiences and whatnot. But like, from a story perspective, there's very little overall to talk about, because it kind of is what it is. It's more, for me anyway, it's that experience. It's a completely unique, distinct way of experiencing a film, because three phases, as far as I can tell. One is through his eyes, literally within him, in him, to the point, like, how clever and how brilliant to have his blinks in all of those opening 25 minutes. And when he's wiping his hands over his face and looking in the mirror, it's got that lane trickery, obviously, where they're just filming straight, although they use a Vince Cassell's double for that. But having stuff like that, and then removing from the body and going to that third person point of view from behind the head, almost like a video game adjustment, and then to go into another level of astral fucking projection where everything is from above, following and floating around, was just incredibly cool. And it was, for me anyway, that I don't even think he necessarily is dead. I think it is this hellish experience of being in the midst of one of the wildest trips of your life, and you start dying. Like, he probably is dead, but
I think he is shot and he's bleeding out.
That's
and it's that
real.
whole thing before you die.
That's happened, but it's like, imagine being on the ultimate trip in your real life, and then going on the ultimate trip, which is death, that none of us know about, and being in the midst of it. Adam, you said your friend said it only lasted 5 or 6 minutes, and that is the thing. That 5 or 6 minutes when he's dying, or seemingly dying in the cubicle, I feel like this whole film is his trip. That's his trip in those 5 minutes. That's why he's jumping backwards and forwards. Some of it is memory, some of it is real memory, and some of it is just what he thinks is going on in Tokyo right then with his sister and his friend and all of that stuff. You know.
But they're also involved in the underworld as well, like the underworld of Tokyo, which is why the hotel love and all that is such prominent in it, because that's just the world that they're in. They're in that shady side, and that's what they know. And it's But see, that love hotel, I don't think is not real. My reading
that doesn't feel real. Yeah,
because
he's seen it. He's probably seen it in that. What do you call
it's that model.
That model. And he's like envisioning he's floating around that model. That's what
exactly.
It is.
That's why I don't think like it is a kind of a death thing. It is a deathly thing. It is his spirit in a way, but it's kind of his spirit in a trip. He's about to die, but he's tripping as he's dying. So that journey that we're seeing is still his trip at the point of dying.
Okay. See, so you do think he's died? I thought for a second you were saying that he might not have even died. And it was
I just think everything that we're seeing, I don't think is him being dead and this is his spirit. I think what we're seeing is him tripping while he's dying. So it's not like his spirit, his ghost after death. It's him in his final moments. Like, okay, excuse me 1 minute while I expand. I recorded some voice notes when I was doing this because there were things that I thought, I might forget this experience. But this was the thing that I was digging. It was brilliant idea for all films is to create a strange situation, a wild situation that happens while an already wild situation is happening. So the fact that he is going on this insane trip and then is dying, like to be dying and be alive and be aware that you're bleeding out is fucking wild. That's a wild experience. But then you're already tripping, so layer wild on wild. That was blowing my mind at the time, and I was like, okay, fuck, let me think of other things. So it's like, imagine being on that trip like he was, but then being one of the fishermen in Jaws on the boat while the shark is attacking. Can you imagine how your mind would blow? Can you imagine that? That would be absolutely insane. Overwhelming. Because one thing is already overwhelming. Take the trip away, the shark thing's fucking overwhelming. So to layer two things is absolutely insane. So that's what's going on for him. He's got these two huge things happening for him at this point in time, and that's why his mind is just like blown wide across this film, forwards and backwards. You know, stuff that hasn't happened, that might happen, that he's seeing in his mind's eye, mixing with fucking memories. It's wild, man. Absolutely wild.
That whole thing is psychedelics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could literally just lean into he's taking stuff from his recent memory or stuff that he always thinks about, and it's playing out over those 8 minutes or whatever it is, just as he's dying, and he's just projecting that. Or you could take it as this whole film is exactly what Alex is saying about what happens when you die in the Tibetan Bible of the Dead.
Yeah.
And how you're visiting all your past memories, your present memories, add into the future, and then you're visiting your future. He says you're visiting future circumstances, and then you choose which one you want, right? And then we literally do that as we go into the Love Hotel. And the Love Hotel is just a metaphorical place where conception happens, right? All these people having sex, and he finds his sister having sex with Alex, and then he's like, okay, that's my next life. And he goes into her.
So now that's interesting, because it does seem that way, and throughout the film there is, take that whole scene out from the film, and it does feel like there is a kind of attraction to his sister, doesn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. There's so much to read into about his relationship with his sister and his mother, because he's from the off. You see him watching his mother have sex. He's obsessed with her breasts, and I think it's the lack of maybe losing his mother that he wants to reclaim this motherly figure or something. So his sister's the next best thing. That's the kind of thing I'm reading into.
Well, so yeah, I don't know how he would break it down, but that ain't his sister at the very end. It's his mum.
He sees his mum, yeah. He sees his mother who gave birth to him, but then he sees his sister.
No, at the very end, when the child is born, it's his mother.
Are we sure?
Yeah, even Gaspar Noé said.
Okay, right.
Said that that's not his sister. He says, they blur it out, so it's not entirely clear. But when you look at it, it's definitely the actress who plays his mum and not the sister. And he said the first time you watch it, you may think it's his sister, but it's his mother. And again, we've talked about this before, about your point of view and your perception can be different to what the director intended anyway. But the director said it's not meant to be rebirth. It's not meant to be him living again. It's showing all these different things that he's experiencing in this trip. So he's bang in that moment. He's just remembering birth, the beginning of it all.
Yeah. But I do feel, because there's even a moment in the middle where I was like, okay, I've clocked what this film's doing now, where his sister is getting an abortion. And just before that, I was like, okay, this is where we're going. He's going to go into that baby inside his sister. And then it even goes, his spirit goes to the aborted fetus, as if like, I'm going to go inside this fetus. And obviously, but that wouldn't have done anything. So I feel like the journey of the character and the whole fact that this is what Alex is talking about, that it's rebirth and reincarnation, that maybe it's not the mother at the end, but because this is Oscar experience stuff. As soon as he is reincarnated, he wouldn't be Oscar anymore anyway. So his last memory is him being birthed by his mother.
Possibly.
Before he's reincarnated, in my opinion.
Well, the other thing is that, and this is, again, it's up to you if you want to take what the creators say as gospel or not. But Gaspar Noé also said that he doesn't believe in any, like, he's like us. He don't believe in any, there's no religion. He doesn't believe in reincarnation, rebirth, Buddhism, any of that sort of thing. He don't believe in it. And his intention was simply to show someone who is tripping at the moment of death and everything they've experienced in life just all melding at once. Which is why this film is, I like it. I do very much like it, but it doesn't have a message. It doesn't really have a message for me or a story to connect to in that way. I connect to it as an experience, really, rather than a story. But
yeah,
it does still say something in that it's about experiencing shit outside and beyond you. Like, everything can be wild. Everything can be more than we try and break it down to. I think the more you try and, kind of similar to David Lynch, the more you try and break it down and work out exactly what, the less magic it is. Like, the magic is in the experience.
Well, I don't know, man. I feel like if on a podcast, it's like Take Mulholland Drive, the magic just got better and better the more we started picking the film apart. Whereas it's something like this, as you say, I think it's all there. I think the breadcrumbs are laid right from the beginning about this is what you're going to experience. The Tibetan Bible of the Dead, this is what you're going to experience. So this is the story. This is the whole journey this soul's going to go through, whether or not you believe it's there or it's actually happening or not. That is what you're going to experience. Him going through his memories, his past memories, present, and then his future. What his friends and family are getting up to after that. He's experiencing all of that,
and he's doing it.
It's just you're on that ride. That's it.
Yes, yeah. And while it's not actually happening, he isn't actually being reborn and all of that stuff because he was reading that book.
Yeah,
and was talking about it when he tripped. That's why we're seeing what he's seeing.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it completely plays into that, doesn't it? Because he's saying he's taken the DMT, and if it starts kicking in just then, and they say it's 8 minutes, but 8 minutes can feel like a lifetime. So that lifetime could just be him in that kind of trip for that whole time period.
Yeah, again, as I said, it's like it only lasts for 5 minutes, but it feels like you're in for like an hour. It's insane.
Which is the feeling you get when you're
like, again,
on drugs.
Have you ever done like mushrooms, for example?
Certainly not. Tell us all.
But it's that whole weird. Everything moves. Everything comes to life. Like the trees honestly start moving and pulsing. It's like everything is. There is life and stuff that there isn't life, and it is honestly like when I think the Beatles said it's just opening up that curtain to whatever is out there. Like the energy coming off stuff, you can see it. It's really weird. Like a tree would pulse, like it has like reverberations coming off it.
That's
almost like it's breathing.
Yeah, that's what you kind of get. Where it's these moments of literal life. As we're going to the Love Hotel at the end, their groins are like pulsing with life. It's like this thing's alive.
Like
it's about to.
Like the light coming off it.
Yeah.
Well, I think mainly a takeaway from this film is it really comes like Gaspar Noé's filmmaking really comes across in this film, whereas other films like Love and Climax just feel like you're just watching loads of people have sex for no reason. Whereas there is so much, I think, like art in the way the film is made.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like incredible to watch.
It is
almost as in like you should study it if you wanted to become like a director. I think honestly, maybe it's probably one of the best directed films. Like the creativity, absolutely. The way it flows, it's just it's so beautiful. Even if you take away what happens, like just as a piece of cinema, like
you're 100% right. In terms of how it's directed, like this is a perfect example of something that would never. But when it comes to the Oscars giving his best director and his best film, this would never win best film. But for something like best director, it should.
Like this insane, like the way it's edited, the way it almost feels like it's one shot as well. Like I feel very little edited. Breaks, like, and the flow of the film is there. Like at one point, I was like, I was watching at work. I was like, I need to stop because I need to go home. But it was like trying to find a point where the film almost like a natural break. There isn't one. It
Did
just
you have to
keeps
break
going.
this up into viewings?
I had to, and then I watched the rest of it when I got home.
So I feel like the best way to experience this is you have to go
Is
into a
one.
cinema
The first time
and you
I was,
sit
yeah.
down and you can't leave. Because if you can
Yeah.
break it up, you're giving yourself the reprieve from it. And I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think it's human, and you are supposed to, at moments, get a bit frustrated. Not
And
frustrated,
that's why I
but
think
be
the
like,
film
come
is also
on.
so long and so intense in places.
Yeah.
Like it gets to that point, I think it's probably like 3/4 way through, and it gets really quite dark almost.
I mean, it's very fucking
Like
dark.
it doesn't, but like it goes to another level. It's not almost like you're seeing love happening in quite a lot of it, and then it's almost like the dirty side of the love. Like when she's with what's his name, Mario, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like the abortion happening and all that kind of
That
shit. You're
that
like,
abortion
okay.
is. I don't think there's a better, and I use that word loosely, abortion scene in a film in terms of being like, wow.
Yeah,
Like,
like the
just up
almost
front.
like the not the horror, like the what do you call it? Not the horror of it. Is that
Just the
horror?
rawness,
Disgusting
just
way to
the here it
rawness,
is.
That's the word I wanted.
Here-
to say.
here
That's
it
the
is.
word I was wanting to like. And it's laid in front of you, and you can't hide it. And it's also, but then it just happens. The film just moves on without really doing anything else. Like it doesn't become like a big plot point afterwards. Almost, it's not like the characters are fighting, having arguments, or all of that. The life just almost just continues back on. It doesn't slow the pace of the film down. You're just kind of thrown, and you're like, holy shit, and then you just move on.
Do you think, just to move away from the stylistic stuff, like, why do you think the guy from Years and Years got hooked up with Gaspar Noé for this? Because
Such a strange choice.
he's a very good actor. We saw him in It's a Sin, and he was great in It's a Sin. He's not good in this. He's younger. He's untrained, but he's not a good actor or performer in this. He's a real wimp, really.
Yeah.
Almost, I think that becomes from the. It's okay, as I said, how well directed it is in certain aspects, like camera work, but it's also very poorly directed in the way the actors are directed, and I think that comes up to a show when some of these scenes are happening. That almost because you're watching them from a bird's eye view, you just hear what they're saying. You don't really get facial expressions, and so it's very hard to portray. And the way it's shot, almost for the acting, doesn't lend itself because of how good the other side of it is. The other side of the coin, I think, of the way it's been shot, that you then it hinders it on these sides. And Gaspar Noé was probably like, they probably did like 1 or 2 takes and was like, yeah, that's fine, let's move on.
Yes.
I don't think they were redoing shots, being like, oh no, can you just give it a little bit more of that, or like, that didn't work. This can
Well,
we
he
do
just
this?
had
It
to
was
rely
almost
on
like,
other people to tell him if it was good or not.
That's
and
the
I
thing,
think that's where the film lays. Like, if you had him doing that side and somebody else on the set directed almost the other side of it, it could be an absolutely incredible piece of cinema. I think that's where it really lets itself down for me personally. Why I enjoy the film, I'm giving it plaudits, but it doesn't really go into this isn't a good film or a very, very good
On
film.
a technical side of things, it's pretty stunning. Yeah.
Like I would say to people, just fucking study this film and just watch the camera work and the way stuff is portrayed and put in front of you, but without making it a thing. But then also the certain parts of it when you want the drama and like you want it to, like you said, Paul, to take the level up. It just can't do it because of those aspects.
Oh, that's an interesting point though about the Gaspar Noé not speaking English. That he could just allow these actors to just do what they needed, but he really doesn't have an input in whether that's good or not. Because if I watch a foreign film, I wouldn't know how authentic they are.
I know
from their country's aspect of things.
Exactly.
I wouldn't know.
Exactly.
But then you look at, like, we did Blair Witch recently, and that's probably a similar thing, where the director isn't almost involved in it all the time. They have to be given what the actors are almost picking themselves to act like. There is no second shots. There is no...
But that
how
Blair
that's
Witch
done.
was like, okay, we need you to be... This needs to be as believable as possible, so it has to be completely naturalistic.
And I
Whereas
think that-
Gaspar Noé here would have said, it doesn't matter. We're in one huge fucking trip. So
It's the other side of it. If you're going to do it, you do it like that.
And you can't also forget that they also put those 3 actors into those experiences and terrifying them as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
In Blair
exactly.
Witch.
And also, like, again, you can see their faces the whole time, like the facial expression of the way people are acting. Like, you very rarely see people's faces in this unless they're almost having sex. Like when the arguments are happening, you see hair. That's why I think you probably don't realise it's the guy from Years and Years for so long. Because you don't really see his face.
I mean, was he even in Years? Was he even big as an artist at this point?
He was like 20 or something.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Let's see. They began. When did they begin? 2008. So the year before. So Years and Years started a year before this.
Okay, right.
But they're probably the same time filming it then.
Yeah. Quite possibly.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it sounded like it took a while to be filmed and edited.
Yeah.
You'd imagine so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This was always Gaspar Noé's passion project as well. Not even Irreversible. He made Irreversible so he could get the money to make this. This was one of the first ones he wanted to do.
I can totally see, like, if you had to go, this is the Gaspar Noé film, this is it. Like, Irreversible is almost a bit more of a storyline. It's got a bit more of the studio input feel, even though it's still a topic in it. But at the same time, it feels a bit more accessible in a weird way, I want to say. Is that the correct word to say?
Well, probably because of the runtime.
Even though it's a horrible subject, it's got more of an accessibility. It's got Vincent Cassel in it, and what's her name? Monica Bellucci. Is it Monica?
Bellucci, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this is just like you're on a fucking trip. You're either getting it or you're out.
It has that floating camera work, which was at the time when it would have been for you when you first saw Irreversible. You're like, what the fuck? I've never seen a camera move like this.
That is what is stunning about this film for me, and the idea as well. I can understand how it can be such a passion for him because he's had this idea, and all the crux of the idea really does work, and all the technical side of things, the camera work, the way the camera's flowing, the way the camera goes into the back of people's heads, the way that it comes out the other side and then suddenly you're seeing the person. It's on a technical level, and how you're marrying up shots works perfectly. It's the bits in between that can feel like you're hanging around a bit and you want it to like get on a bit, because the story is not that strong, and I don't think it wants you to delve into the story.
No, it doesn't.
But we're watching the story, so you want it to at the same time. So it's like, well, make it a little bit better.
if it wasn't such a trippy film and shot in the way that it was, I think you're right. Your patience goes. Like if this was a more straightforward story, you would be done with it. You'd be like, there's nothing to this. But because of the way that it's told, and because all the way along, your brain can't help but try and bring structure and order to this chaos that you're seeing. You're constantly engaging with it, even when it is taking a long time to, finish a swirling camera roll as it zooms away from him lying dead around a fucking hole in the floor. Your brain is whirring like, okay, what does this mean? Are we back with it now? Is this a dream? Whatnot? And it's going through the whole time. It works for that reason, which is why I think there's, at the end, when you finish the film, is when you go, okay, this worked, this didn't work, whatnot. Because when you're doing it as it goes along, you don't really get the chance to, because you're meant to be feeling all those things as it's going along. For sure. So you get that full thing. That's why, in terms of what actually happens, like if there was an observer to the events of this film who was not intoxicated or under the influence at all, who was watching this, said this is what happened, it would be like, yeah, okay, that's boring. That's whatever, not interesting. The experience is the interesting thing, and the reason why I rate the film so highly is because it goes to the power of cinema being more than just that age-old thing.
Narrative.
There are 5 or 6 stories, and they just get retold and retold and retold. Well, maybe that's the case here, but it's done in such a way that you never would. This is new, it's different, it's fresh, and it's engaging and enjoyable.
That's what you come out the back end of this getting out of it, like the way the story's told. And as you say, you get these long drawn out shots lingering on him in a bathroom stall, but the lingering on this moment is what makes it so powerful.
Yes.
But then it's almost like I appreciate there is a story here, right? I appreciate there's a story flowing throughout it, because it gives me something to grasp onto and understand and try and put the pieces together. But at the same time, I don't like the film for it. I like it for the technical way that it's portraying the story, and it's the whole crux of the idea in general. Because when I get to as I say, like Alex in an alleyway calling, going, "Oh, you need to go get my jacket and my money." I'm like, I don't care about this. So I don't care about that. Flow on. I'm in the experience. I don't need to see what these characters are doing, but I'm glad you've given me the moment to understand what they're doing, kind of thing. It's weird.
Just to, like, the thing is, imagine it's you, and you dying. Like, I can't tell you how the most horrifying moment in the film is when he is first shot and is lying down on the floor, and Gaspar Noé fades the blackness in and out for such a long time as he's just staring at his bloodied arm, and he's trying to work out if he's dying or not. And the blackness keeps encroaching, and it's almost swallowing him up entirely, swallowing up the whole frame. And then it retracts, and you're like, fuck, cling on to life. Cling on, it's going to go. And then it comes in, and then it goes, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man. That's so intense. That feeling of, there's your life going, slipping right now. So in that moment, if you could have this out-of-body experience, whether it's through drugs or spiritual, and you could experience all things across all timelines, backwards and forwards at once, where would you go? What would you do? How would you experience life? It is very powerful. And even just the inner monologues, you're absolutely right. Just, I feel like the first, up to when he gets shot, I feel like that whole first bit of this film is on point, absolutely perfect, because it's just the inner monologue of him, the paranoia, the thoughts going through his head as he's been shot, just the way that he gets the DMT and he has that first initial out-of-body experience. We leave his body for a second as he has that. It's not 8 minutes of that moment, I don't think, but we get that moment to see what it could be like when the DMT is released in his brain as he's dying. And it is just such a wonderful experience. And the intro, man, you were absolutely correct. The intro, I fucking adore. Yeah, amazing.
I don't think it ever gets as intense as that moment in the intro of the film. Is probably the most intense thing, especially if you're fucking having a bad trip. That would be the wrong thing to be watching.
Gaspar Noé said that he did the opening credits were the last thing that he did, and he wanted to make them short and bang in your face, because he was like, I'm going to have to test people's patience for several hours now, so I need to give them something hyper up front.
It also sets you on feeling a little bit uneasy
immediately. Yeah,
so it works in that way.
The feeling of okay, so we ain't talked about the inciting event, the real thing that obviously happened long before, when they were kids and their parents dying in that car crash and whatnot. So Oscar is for me, like, unsympathetic, because I don't care that, I mean, not that I don't care. He dies. He's a drug dealer. He brings his sister to Tokyo, who he keeps saying, I'll never leave you, I'll protect you. And he is essentially responsible for getting her hooked on drugs and for getting her, making her a pole dancer, right? So he's responsible for all of that. But at the same time, I think if Gaspar Noé was saying anything beyond the drug stuff, it was, but look at these two people who you could look at face value where they are in Tokyo and go, those are two pretty terrible people. They deserve what they're getting. Look at what happened in their childhood to lead them on that path. Those two innocent kids, in a very brutal way. I always remember that fucking car crash, man. The first time I saw it, I was like, wow, shit.
And it keeps returning as well. It's very powerful, especially with that little girl screaming and shouting like, "Mommy!" It's like, and very
insanely powerful. Well done as well when they're on that roller coaster together, and then it cuts from the roller coaster to the car crash. That point of view, like, Gaspar Noé is brilliant at taking a shot of something and then contrasting it with the exact same angle, but with different people or them at a different time. Very good. But that is a fucking trauma, childhood trauma for these two, and look where it led. So I think it's a very bleak look at life overall. And maybe the fact is that these people have had the most devastating things happening to them in their past, and the only enjoyment they can get through life now is drugs and sex and each other.
Mm-hmm.
In
Sometimes
a
not
very
even each
sad
other.
way. No, sometimes not even each other.
But I agree, is that it gives you both sides of that coin, doesn't it? I think, I don't think Oscar is very likable. I mean, one of the first things he says to Alex is, if she gets pregnant with Marco's baby, I'm going to kill it. It's like, oh, you're a nice guy, fucking nice guy. And obviously, I mean, Linda ends up aborting the baby anyway, but it's like, it puts it there for a reason, but to give context to how these people ended up in the situation they're in, it gives you, a chance to maybe understand the plight of these people and the headspace, which is interesting.
They're not terrible villains. That's the thing. They're not terrible villains. They're just people that you might be like, oh, well, if you were ever going to encounter them in real life, you would encounter them on one night, and they'd be on the periphery of the group you're with, and they would be someone you spent maybe a couple hours with and would have nothing really in common with or want to spend that time with on an ongoing basis. But at the same time, it's like everyone in life has a genesis story, and people are the way they are because of things that have happened to them. And the only thing that definitely feels real in this film is that car crash that absolutely happened. Everything else that we're seeing, it's just hard to say what is in Alex's mind, in Oscar's mind, sorry, and what is actually happening.
The interesting thing as well is at one point we even, I guess, technically go into Linda's mind because we're in her dream.
That's right. That's a very clever scene. Very clever scene.
She dreams that he's alive again.
Yes.
Even though he's already been cremated.
Yes.
And it's very like a horrible thing because she's refusing to believe it's even him. It's like, that's not my brother. And it's like quite a creepy
very
kind
cold.
of notion because we can't actually see him as well. It's like, what is she looking at?
Yes. Yeah, that was
Who
very
is
good.
This thing? Yeah.
That was a very good scene. Yeah, the idea that he'd been in her dream. Very excellent. I also like the idea that he floated up above the Tokyo City and then ended up going through a plane. Like, that was very cool.
Yeah. And that's why I see the parents on the plane.
For Gaspar Noé to be like, yeah, we're going to float up over the city landscape and then a plane is going to pass by and he's just going to travel through the plane. Like, that's excellent. Just the absolute craft work of Gaspar Noé. Take this film away. Irreversible was enough, the way he was maneuvering that camera, swirling it around with that drone in that sickening way. Incredible. This is absolutely unreal. I don't know where someone like David Lynch would stand on something like this, but I can't help but feel like he would appreciate it on some level.
Yeah, the technical side of this is very, very wonderful.
And I like that he's like Harmony Korine in that he puts things that are immediately repulsive in front of you, and then kind of it's like a challenge to say, can you enjoy this? Are you just going to turn your back on this and be repulsed, or can you find a way in? Because I think the thing that I hate in movies, because I'm like the new generation, is I think sex is a waste of time for the most part, and I hate just pointless sex. There's a lot of sex in this, but I don't think, even in the final scenes at the hotel, none of it is titillating. It's all cold. It's all mechanical. Not mechanical, but it's all done in a way that is absolutely not meant to be scintillating or titillating. It feels like an unpleasant act, and it feels like you're being shown it in an unpleasant way.
Yeah, well, it works for me in that kind of metaphorical sense. As I said, it is like sex comes in many forms. It could be someone paying for it, someone actually having it for pleasure, someone fucking, in the worst way, maybe being raped or something. You don't know, but it's like that. The hotel of whatever love is probably not love in every situation, but this hotel is the metaphorical form of conception for me. And so the sex in the hotel was necessary to put that across to me. I needed to see all those rooms of people having sex to understand and put it together in my head. That's what it was portraying in my opinion. There are other moments in the film though that I feel are totally unnecessary. It probably does revolve around Linda, and I feel like we do need to see her in a sexual way, because you need to get that Freudian aspect from how Oscar's feeling. But there's a lot of kind of hanging around her, and it's a little bit strained in some senses. But we get moments of her just being like, her boobs are just hanging out in front of Oscar, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Or just like she's just gonna have a threesome with the housemates of Alex for some reason. I don't know why that was in there.
I think it's just meant to show her spiraling.
I guess
because
so.
they it's such a contrast to when she first arrives in Tokyo with that little teddy bear and the big smile on her face. She's very well put together and cute and innocent. They're almost framing her as the grown-up version of that little girl that we saw, and then contrast that with a few months or however long they're meant to have spent in Tokyo together, and her being the way that she is.
See, I don't think it translates that well though, because if you're looking at something like Requiem for a Dream, and we get Jennifer Connelly, and we get the journey of her going and ended up with that whole fucking horrible scene on that rotating bed at the end. We get the journey of that character. I don't feel like there's much of a journey for Linda here. She gets yes, we see her as a little girl, yes, but as soon as she gets to Tokyo, it feels like a couple of minutes, and then she's already in the taking drugs and in the strip club. I feel that she's lost her way.
That one night she goes off the rails heavily, but it's because drugs is introduced to her, and it all comes back to Oscar, I think.
Yeah, it's Oscar's fault. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Oscar, who is not the protector that he keeps claiming to be in all the flashbacks and memories.
For sure. Yeah, he will never leave her, he said, but immediately he's like, "Just guard this guy. I'm going to leave you to it."
I do think that the most interesting thing, taking away all of this conversation, the most interesting thing about this film, in a sentence, is the idea that dying is the ultimate trip, and that none of us can know what that is like until it happens. And the idea
universal.
That, my God, what happens? Because you and I are aligned. We don't believe in well, I don't know, maybe you do believe in some sort of afterlife, but what I mean is we don't have any religious belief. We don't think we're reborn as anything, but I think that there is an energy transformation, but we can't know in what capacity we have consciousness to understand it. Do we know? Are we aware that present? It is us? Or what is us at that point?
Yeah, it is a very interesting concept that is universal for every person, regardless of whether you can sympathise with what Oscar's doing, or whether you take drugs or not, or whatever. The concept of dying, you're just about to die, and you're going to experience whatever comes on the other side of that moment. It's it's a universal feeling, and it's just you're going to enter the void of not knowing what's going to happen.
Now, okay, here's one thing I wanted to say. I think Enter the Void actually is, I think Gaspar Noé is saying life is the void, because everything before and after that is the trip, because the film begins with enter at the beginning, and then right at the end we get the void. So it's like everything we've just been in, which is his life, was actually the void. Because the void is nothing. The void is empty and
blackness,
which is the opposite of what we're getting in this film.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense if from your reading of he's not reincarnated, and that is just his final moment is of seeing himself being born to his mother.
Yeah.
And then then he's dead. That's the end of his DMT trip, and he died, and now it's just the void, it's blackness.
Would you get comfort out of knowing definitively that what death was is that once you die, the moment you die, your life begins again exactly as it was, but you don't have the awareness. So you are like on a permanent loop, but you just have no awareness.
What? My same life again?
Yeah. But you don't know. Would you have comfort from that, or would you rather not know that, not know at all?
I'd rather not know for definite what's going to happen. I don't know. It's the idea of knowing is, I don't know. I think it's a dangerous thing to actually know what happens afterwards, because you'll get a lot of people deciding to end their lives because they think they can just restart it.
Yeah. Which is interesting, because Christianity and Catholicism, and I suppose a lot of religions, see taking your own life as a sin. but they are the ones that definitively say life is better once you die. Yet they also say, but make sure you don't kill yourself, because then you'll go to the hell.
You got to earn it, don't you? You don't have to earn it. You just got to apologise for all the shit you do.
Yeah, exactly. Just repent at the end. Repent at the end, and everything will be fine.
Kill all these women, go to prison, and then just become a good person. That's all you got to do. It's fine.
There is a similarity between this and Martyrs in a way, in that they're both playing with that crossover period into death, like that unknowable thing. And I got to say, I think this comes closer to probably representing what actually does happen when you die.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, Martyrs is you just get that at the end, really, and it's the exploration of trying to understand.
Yeah.
But you never really get a glimpse of it, because all you know is that woman is told, and then she decides to kill herself because whatever she's got told is what she believes happens, but we never find out for ourselves. Where this does feel like a genuine possibility of just literally riding through your memories of your life. And
do you think then on that, if you, when you die, do you like the idea of being, similarly to how it's presented in this film, this floating entity that can oversee at different times your loved ones and people that you've encountered, flit into their lives, but not be able to impact it or interact with them at all, and only be there for a moment? Do you like the idea of having that after death, or would you prefer not to have that, not to see them at all?
So we're talking about, it's literally like spirits now, isn't it? This is what some people believe, that you're a ghost who can,
but
who's always around your loved ones,
but not like
there.
that. Not like you can walk in a room and sit there and observe for hours.
It's like fleeting moments.
You have no control over it. You are taken. Like the minute you're in your living room for 20 seconds, and then suddenly you're sucked through the keyhole, and you are now inside someone else that wronged you for 3 minutes, and now you're back with your mum when she was 10, but now you're at the moment that something terrible happened, and now you're here, like constantly moving through your own people's lives and memories and actual lives now. Is that nice or not? Do you want that? If you get told now that's what you can have at death for an indeterminate amount of time, or we'll give you nothing, it's black.
I mean, I think that sounds better than nothing, right?
I don't know, because
I mean, for an infinite amount of time, like forever and ever, that sounds like it's going to wear pretty thin.
But we're going to. But the argument is that we are going to have infinity afterwards. If you buy into the idea of us as energy and consciousness, in some respects, we are eternal. We will live on forever. We may just not be aware of what it is that we're experiencing at the time.
So that's just like a little cherry just before you get the void of just drifting through, seeing how you lived your life, understand whether you were a good person or not. Go to see my brother having sex with his girlfriend, and I'll be lingering there for a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing. If you can't control that, it's
like, get me away. Was he controlling the floating? I don't know.
But there's also something that says at that point in death, that shit doesn't matter. Like, yes, that was your brother in life, but this is you on our energy. That person is. Have you ever seen a dead body?
Yeah. I was with my granddad.
Right. So have I. The one thing that is clear is that those people those bodies that we see are not. That is not the people that we knew in life.
No, it's just like every empty vessel.
It's the vessel. It's absolutely, which goes to show that yes, this is the vehicle. This was the vessel. This was the body that carried those people through life. But this vessel now in front of me is not that person anymore. So where that person, what made that person that person? Is it just something as simple as chemistry and biology, and that's all we are? Just synapses flaring and shit? Is that all we are? Or is there something that we can't put a hand on, some consciousness, some energy which lives on beyond that vessel?
Well, that is it. The person is really the soul. That this energy is that person really, because if I could just go into your body, I wouldn't be you. I can control your body.
No.
But my own personality and my thoughts and feelings would not be you.
No.
So it's an unspoken thing that's not physical that creates that person. And it's inside your brain, this grey matter inside your head that no one really understands how the fuck that's making a person work, even though you can try and explain it. It's just there, and it's pulsing, and it's making this big body run. And it's one day going to stop running. And that energy is going to go somewhere, I guess.
Which is why this film is excellent, because it's one of the few things that you could almost say, well, maybe this is capturing what death is like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's what I do like about this film. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to watch this film, you have to experience the acting and the story on top of it. So that's the things that let it down for me. Even though I want something to grasp onto.
I can get it, yeah.
I really enjoy what he was trying to execute here. And it's the technicality of it is wonderful. And yeah, it really gives you something to bite your teeth into about, is this anything close to what could be the truth?
Do you think this film would have been improved by a Daft Punk soundtrack?
Is that what's supposed to be?
I thought the guy from Daft Punk did the soundtrack.
No, the guy from Daft Punk was supposed to do it, but he couldn't because he was doing Tron Legacy.
Oh, I thought he did it.
He did the soundtrack for Irreversible.
There's not really a soundtrack, and I think the soundtrack does work.
It's diegetic sound in this. It's
like, just noise, isn't it? Yeah, white noise almost. Which I think works really well.
The soundscape in it is incredible. It sounds like for the last short film that I did, I took a recording of Mars, a NASA recording of the sounds in Mars, and I reversed it and slowed it down. And
it's very similar to
completely
this,
coincidentally, it sounds like this. Yeah.
Oh, wicked! It's like the sound you'd imagine just inside someone's body, just like a hum. Like you can't actually grasp the outside world. It's just like there's just an echo of life there.
Those flotation things that people probably put you in when the sound is neutral, I can imagine it probably almost sounds like that.
Well, it's one hell of an experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing this in IMAX?
Do they do it in IMAX?
No, but wouldn't that be a trip? Imagine being on DMT in an IMAX screen watching this and being restrained in your seat so you couldn't get up,
couldn't move
or anything, and your eyes are peeled open like Clockwork Orange. Wow, I think that might actually induce death, and then you would experience it.
The person coming out of there is not going to be the same person as they are.
Is the ultimate way to experience this film to take DMT and then have someone slowly kill you while you watch the film?
I mean, I think from DMT you don't watch anything. It's not like when you're high. It's all
Is that
like
what your friend
mind,
said?
Yeah, it's all like your mind goes weird, rather than like you watch and sit. You don't see what's around you. You go away from what's around you.
What do you think is the most accurate representation of DMT in this film?
When the eyeballs are going, when you're almost going through the eyeballs. I think that's what it is. I think that's the high.
Like the tentacles and the kaleidoscope.
Right.
Yeah,
stuff.
That's what it is.
Anyway, all right. Well, I think we're there.
Should we wrap it up?
Yeah. Let's wrap it up.
Go on then. Just do it in the order. You're first, Ben.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, this was a preferred viewing to the last one, and I have a lot of respect for it and whatnot. I can't give it more than an 8 because the reality is, what I'm buying into is just the incredible experience.
The feeling.
Yeah. Experience and nothing more or beyond that. I do want to, as part of this, just tell you where it ranks amongst the other Gaspar Noés for me. So it is Irreversible is the number one still,
Snap.
of course. That's a 9 out of 10. And I think I would have to give it a rewatch, but I think that this and Climax are on the level with one another. I need to rewatch Climax because I very much enjoyed it. No. Enter the Void is better. Enter the Void's better. So it's my second favourite.
Okay.
Same as us.
I would give it I gave it a 7 out of 10 before. I was thinking about dropping it to a 6, but I think overall it still is a 7 out of 10 for me, just because of how technically good it is and the experience that it gives you.
That's all right.
I enjoy the technical side of things. I think it's a very interesting and unique experience. But yeah, I can't buy into how long it is, and just the story, it just doesn't grasp me enough. And yeah, it gets to 6.
Okay, so I knew that's what I knew the scores would be, but the conversation was different to what I thought it was. I thought Paul might have been more dismissive, so that was good.
No.
I thought you would give it a low.
It gives you more just talking outside of the film more than anything. Like it gives you something to bite onto, and just from your own experiences, what you perceive could be the truth about death and stuff. It gives you a good conversation starter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like that to watch that film on drugs is one hell of an experience. Whatever your drug of choice may be out there, if you like to take drugs, and I'm not endorsing it, but if you enjoy recreationally having some drugs that are good for you, as opposed to sticking a needle in your arm, not that any drug's good for you, well, some are, I recommend you do it and watch that film, because I can't think of a better film. I did 2001 Space Odyssey. That is completely untrue. That was a chore. That was an ordeal. That was not good. But that was something.
Yeah, I don't think 2001 leans into the taking of the drugs.
Everyone's like, oh, that's the one you've got to watch. That's the one you've got to watch. Definitely not.
Nah.
So fucking slow movie. And that's like, it's the same length as it as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's better than this, in my opinion, but not for the drugs.
I think this is better. It's strange because in a couple of interviews with Gaspar Noé, interviewers talk about 2001 to him and how Kubrick used the camera and in it and whatnot, and similarities, but they're very different films. Like, I guess they do kind of deal with life and death, but yeah, you can see the influence. Yeah, I prefer this. I'm probably the only one who prefers this one, but there you go.
That's good. That's what film's all about, baby.
Yeah, you two rate Climax very low, don't you? Very,
I don't like it.
Surprisingly low.
Like
that's a wild
I did not
one.
like Love.
I haven't seen Love. I have to watch Love.
It's just
Love's fucking shit.
Porn.
It's terrible. Should we place it?
Yeah.
It is that whole thing of I'd rather 100 films like this because there is something in it, and you do need more Gaspar Noé movies, no matter how hit and miss he is and weird he is.
Exactly. Look, exactly, and that is 100%. I'm looking on my letterbox right now. I'm looking at the 8 Gaspar Noé films that I've seen, and each of them is a distinct and unique experience. None of them are forgettable. Where there are so many films by Zemeckis, Spielberg, whatnot that can be completely forgettable. Like, this is a filmmaker who excites.
It probably cost him not a lot of money to make this film. Like, I can't see it being any more than like 3-4 million.
It was all the Irreversible money. It was pretty much everything he made off of Irreversible he put into this.
Did he put his own money into it?
Yeah, all the money that he made from Irreversible. That's why he made Irreversible, so that he would have the money to make this.
To the passion.
Yeah. He called 12.38 million euros was the budget.
Okay. It's like what you didn't see Coppola when he won the Razzie, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, that makes me want to go see that film, but then I look at the ratings, it's like, apparently it's awful. But at the same time, it's like you can't knock him for spending £100 million on it.
If it's your own money, knock yourself out. Exactly. There's a line here, Gaspar Noé called Irreversible a bank robbery, a film he made in order to finance Enter the Void.
Still a good film, right?
It's just ironically a better film, yeah. No one can forget that. Fire extinguisher scene.
Definitely not. Should we place it?
Yeah.
Okay. Straight up 7. That's what it gets. It's going up against Brotherhood of the Wolf. Adam hasn't seen it. So we can jump over that, and that means we go to Multiplicity, which Adam hasn't seen either.
No, I think it's better than Multiplicity.
I can't remember. I must have given Multiplicity a 7. Or did you give it an 8?
I gave Multiplicity an 8, yeah.
So I give it a 6. So I would say, yeah, this is better than Multiplicity. So yeah, we can make that judgment call. The Thing from Another World, I prefer
better than that.
The Thing from Another World.
What did Adam give that?
Thing from the Other World, if I gave it a 7.
You did, so you got to make a decision.
Yeah, I think actually, no, I'm going with this. I'll remember this a lot more than I remember that.
Keep riding. Thesis, I prefer Thesis.
Better than Thesis. Even Thesis was very good.
Okay, Thesis is 7. I'm going to say this is better.
Keep on going. Kids Return.
No, Kids Return is better.
Kids Return is better.
Okay, there it is then.
Well, there you go. That's where it's sitting. Below Kids Return and above Thesis. Good placement.
Good. Okay, that's not bad.
Not bad. You would have liked it to be better.
Yeah, that's okay though. I'll take it. It could have been a lot worse. I couldn't remember what Adam had even given it, so I thought he was going to give it a 6 potentially for a while. You could have gone very low, Paul. So 6 is pretty good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. So there we go.
Good.
If that's any consolation.
Yeah.
Right. That takes us to what we're doing next.
This is a film that we have all seen before. And we all actually very much enjoy it. But it's not a very well-known film. And I kind of want to bring it...
Pause.
I know what it is.
Adam, yeah, me and Paul know what this is. Don't say anything. Me and Paul know what this is because we directly referenced it in last week's Down Terrace episode, but go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, you know what it is.
Yes.
And I think it will make a great episode for the podcast. And hopefully bring it out. And also, I now know it's going to have the line of the year. It's going to come from this film.
That's true.
And that film
has it got a C and an S in it?
Yeah. That film is 44-inch chest.
There we go.
Look at that. Adam, we specifically... And that's a little insight into Down Terrace.
I kind of get that vibe off it. It seems that kind of British film. That's almost a play.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I don't know much about Down Terrace, but that's what I'm kind of getting off it already.
There we go.
Beauty. I'm up for that, baby. That's what you've got to look forward to next time. So other than that, let us just plug our wonderful little Patreon. We've got a Patreon at www.patreon.com/filmbusters, where we have some wonderful people over there who just beautiful little family members of the Filmbusters. And you can become family members too, just like the likes of Tia from the Alien Effect podcast.
You can also join Luke Bennett.
You can also join Francis Ciberini.
You can also join Steve and Mark from Movie Drone.
You can also join Brent from Home Video Hustle.
You can also join Luke Human, who I saw did not really care for this film, and he cares for almost every film under the sun, so he really didn't like this.
He rated it the same as me. You can also join Sean Paddy Nicholson, who likes this film.
He does.
We also have Nerd Revert.
We have Julio.
We have Jamie Russell from the Movie Duel podcast.
And finally, we have the OGs of the lot, Katie and OT from the For Your Reference podcast.
Katie and OT, I wonder what they would make of this film.
Hate it. They would hate it.
I wonder. I would pay, if they had an option, I would pay, because this is so far removed from their wheelhouse. I would love to hear what they would say about this.
They'd say, ooh, ooh, ooh. That was the sound of the penis going through as it's ejaculating.
Oh. Forgot about that bit. Now I've remembered it.
Filmbusters.